K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hello, guys, and welcome to a special edition of On Deck. Tonight we got a special guest. First off, I'll introduce the group here. I'm Big B, Brandon, as you guys know me. I got my man Sarge and my producer Chris P. Bacon. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
All right.
Doing good.
And then for our special guest tonight, he's the VP of. I'll let him explain his job title because it's kind of lengthy. But Sean Aronson, he's part of the St. Pau Saints organization, AAA for the Minnesota Twins. So, Sean, welcome, and you can explain your job title to us.
Yeah, I'll give you the mouthful version of my job. Vice President, Director of Broadcasting and Media Relations. I usually cut off the Vice President title because, honestly, it sounds nice, but it doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot. So Director of Broadcasting and Media Relations is kind of what I go with.
All right, cool. Being from Minnesota, I've been to many Saints games, especially at the new ballpark. I love it. So we'll get to some questions here. Chris, do you got a question to start us off with?
What are you most excited about heading into the new season? Like any players signings or?
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, I'm just excited to get started. I mean, the off season's long enough. When you work in baseball, you live for the baseball season, not for the off season. And as Brandon knows, especially living in Minnesota, you just want it to warm up again. So look, I'm excited to see a lot of guys that produced last year and find out, if they'll start the year with us or at the major league level and find out if those AA guys that we're producing down in Wichita, how many of those guys are going to come up and play with us. So it's always exciting when the season starts to find out what your roster is going to look like. And the minor league guys right now are down in spring training. The Twins guys are down in Fort Myers, getting ready, and they'll be down there for about a month and come up to us on April the 1st.
Okay. So before the Saints became a AAA ball club, they were independent ball. So what was that transition like all around the organization?
Yeah, I tell people baseball is baseball, right? We've been doing this for a long time, and with the St. Paul Saints, 1993 was the first year of the organization. This will be my 16th season with the ball club. So, look, for the most part, it wasn't too terribly different. The front office is still the same. The ownership group is still the ownership group. I would probably tell you that the small changes that you notice are you no longer have control of the players, right? They're controlled by the Minnesota Twins. They draft them, they assign the free agents, they trade them, they do all that stuff. Whereas our manager was the one that did that in the past. Yep. And then our coaching staff is completely different as well. Our longtime manager, George Samus, who's the winningest manager in Saints history, had been around longer than I had. I started in 07. I think his first year was 04. Unfortunately, again, it's a Twins affiliate, so they go with their coaching staff. George is now managing in Kane County in the American Association, the former league we were at. So the coaching staff changes over, but outside of that, and the fact that we now travel by airplane for most of the road trips as opposed to by bus. For the most part, it's all the same. You'd be naive to think that the quality of baseball isn't better with a AAA ball club than it was in an independent club. And I'm not knocking independent baseball, but it's just a fact that the quality of baseball is better on a night-to-night basis. But overall, especially as a broadcaster, broadcasting baseball, it's the same at any level you're at. I mean, the talent is a little better the higher up you go, but it's still the game of baseball, and the fundamentals of broadcasting and game are still the same.
Okay. Sarge?
Well, I guess, again, thank you for coming on to the On Deck. And my question to you is, like, some of our guys here with this network, they're trying to break out into the sports broadcasting and so forth, and some of us are actually doing it as hobbies, and wherever it takes us, it takes us. For someone to get into the business, what would they need to do?
Yeah, look, there's no one path, right? If there was, someone would have written that book and we'd all copy it, and I'd probably be at the major league level right now. But there is no there is no one path. The thing that I tell everybody trying to get into this business is, number one, get in front of a microphone as much as you can. Reps is all what it's about, because you're going to hone your craft the more that you have, a microphone in front of you and you're broadcasting whatever sporting event it is. The other thing that I tell people is don't turn down, any sort of broadcasting job, even if it's a sport you don't know much about. As long as you do your due diligence and as long as you do your prep work, that's going to be more than half the battle right there. And then the rest kind of comes with that. And, it doesn't matter if it's, one of the four major sports. It doesn't matter if it's an Olympic sport. It doesn't matter if it's, an off-brand sport, whether it's, handball or volleyball or, whatever. Just, you should say yes to everything. I've been asked to do lacrosse. I don't know anything about lacrosse, but, you do these things. Just again, to hone your craft. It looks good on the resume and you never know what door that's going to open for you. So that really is the biggest thing that I tell people all the time, is make sure you get in front of a microphone as much as you can. And nowadays, look, I mean, I started in the business, back in 2000 as an intern, and in 2001 as my first job. The internet really wasn't a big thing back then. Now, I mean, especially in Minnesota, we've got, I think, 2 different companies that broadcast high school sports.
Yep.
Stream the sports. And so you don't need a radio station anymore. I mean, you can stream all your audio. And again, it's reps. It looks good on the resume, and it can lead to, a bigger job. And that's sometimes what you need to do.
Okay. So talk a little journey on how you got from college to where you're at with the Saints right now.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Southern California, in Los Angeles, grew up diehard Dodger fan, listening to Vin Scully, greatest broadcaster arguably out there. And you grew up listening to that guy. And look, I realized early on that I was never going to go anywhere in terms of playing the game of baseball. My talents, he says in quotes, petered out in high school. But I knew at a young age that I wanted to be a broadcaster. And so I went to the University of Colorado Boulder. Again, not known for its broadcasting, but I went there, and I joke all the time with people. I went to college in 1995. There was no internet, no Google search to look up like the best broadcasting schools out there. You'd go into your college advisor in high school, and she'd point to a stack of books and say, "Yeah, go look at those," and weed through that to find out what school you should go to. But I wound up at Colorado. I did an internship after I graduated with the Colorado Springs Sky Sox, the AAA affiliate of the Rockies. That landed me a job, basically starting my career doing a play-by-play with the Allentown Ambassadors, a team that's no longer in existence in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I was there for 2 years, then moved on to Fort Myers, Florida, where I was with the Miracle, the Twins high A affiliate at the time. I was there for 4 years. And the ownership group that owned the Saints, or that owned the Saints, owned the Miracle at the time.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they've since sold the Miracle. But so when my predecessor, who is Chris Atterbury, got the job with the Twins doing their pre and post and their and fill-in work, they were looking for someone, and they opened it up to just the teams that they owned. I think at the time they owned Charleston, which they still do. They owned Hudson Valley, which they just sold. They owned Sioux Falls, which they sold a few years ago. They owned Fort Myers. And I think there might have been one other team in there. And so they opened up to the search to the broadcasters in the ownership group. And spoiler alert, I got the job.
Nice. Love having you. I love seeing you on the pregame when I get a chance for the Saints. So, Chris, you got another question for?
Yeah, is there a game that you like, a game you can remember calling that you had fun with, or just remember like an iconic moment?
Yeah, there are actually 2. It's a good question, Chris. I always like when people ask me like my favorite moments, because most of the games I forget once I'm done broadcasting them. It's funny.
I know one you're going to say, and I was going to bring it up, I think.
Okay, well, we'll see. But it's funny because managers will talk to me about games afterwards, and I'll have forgotten everything that happened during the game. Like broadcasters, like, it just doesn't stick in my mind. But there are 2. One was 2019, was the championship game when we won it all. I started my career as a broadcaster in 2002. I had or in 01, I had never broadcast a championship moment for a team that I was with. And so it took me all those years to finally win a championship ring with the team that I was broadcasting for. So that was a special moment. The other one was June 24th of 2016. And that was Kevin Millar's home run. The guy he had retired 7 years prior to that. Came back because we were doing a promotion that he was sort of involved with. We were giving away a bobblehead of him and Bill Murray from this iconic photo back in 1993. For people that don't know, Kevin Millar started his professional baseball career with the Saints back in 1993. He ended his baseball career before this at bat with the St. Paul Saints in 2009. He played a week for the Saints after the Cubs released him out of spring training. He came back to the Saints, played, I think it was 6 games for us, and then retired. But he, I guess, came out of retirement for a day. We did this promotion with this bobblehead giveaway, and he had asked us, he's like, I'd love to take an at bat. And we checked with the league and we checked with the team that we were playing, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, and everybody was okay with it. And he came up in the bottom of the second inning with a runner on and took a 1-0 pitch and clubbed it over the left field wall for a 2-run home run, which is the most astounding moment that I think I've ever, the most astounding singular moment I've ever broadcast, because here's this guy that hadn't picked up a baseball bat in 7 years. Forget the fact that he's got an amazing major league career, but he hadn't picked up a bat in 7 years. And I told him, because he took the one at bat, he came out of the game and he came up to the broadcast booth in like the 5th inning. And I told him on the air, I said, look, I prepared for every single possible moment you could have had, including you striking out about 17 different ways. But the one moment that I didn't anticipate was you going yard. And my call for that is the most genuine and surprised and excited that I think I've ever gotten for one singular moment in my career. It was incredible to be a part of. We're actually having him back this year. We're going to retire his jersey number. We're going to do another bobblehead giveaway based on a picture that he took back in '93. He is not taking it at bat this time, but he will be back to the ballpark this year.
Cool. Yeah, that's the moment I knew you were going to talk about, because I remember watching the Saints pregame show the day after, and you were all choked up still.
Yeah,
and I think you said that, and I remember watching the highlight when I first saw it, and I'm just like, really? 0-1 pitch just took it yard like nobody's business. So yeah. Sarge, what about you? Got another question?
Yeah, so this might bring some painful memories, because it does for me. David Ortiz, he actually started with the Seattle Mariners. How did that deal go with the organization, with Ortiz going from Minnesota to Boston?
Yeah, it's funny. It's a deal that everybody still talks about, right? Yep. When they talk about the Twins and giving up on a guy, and watching a Hall of Fame career after that. So Twins fans still talk about it. Trust me. I mean, I was not in Minnesota when it happened. I might've been working for Fort Myers at the time, but they still talk about it, and they are still bitter about it. But things like that happen. I mean, one of the best pitchers in Twins history, and they've had a few, but Johan Santana was a Rule 5 pickup.
Yep.
A lot of people don't remember that if you're not a Twins fan. Like, Johan Santana is one of the best pitchers in franchise history, and the guy was a Rule 5 pickup. So it works both ways, right? Where teams give up on a guy, or they release a guy, or they trade a guy, and he turns out to be good. I mean, you can't keep everybody, and sometimes whatever the rationale was back then that they decided that they were going to cut bait with Ortiz. If they had a lot of depth at the time, or he was expendable, whatever it might have been. These things happen in the world of baseball, but yes, Twins fans have not forgotten.
Yeah, there's two moves Minnesota fans haven't forgotten, and that's one of them, and another one is the old Herschel Walker trade. So yeah, but you growing up as a Dodgers fan, I'm guessing your best Dodger moment is probably going to be Kirk Gibson's home run in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely is. Although I was very excited, 2020, obviously the pandemic shortened season, the Dodgers won the World Series. I actually went to Arlington and took in Game 3 of the World Series. I'd never been to a World Series game before. Nice. And I'm not saying it's going to be the only time I'm ever going to get to go, but the tickets were relatively inexpensive because most people, you couldn't really travel. and most people weren't going. And I think I spent like $300 on a ticket. If the Dodgers, are in the World Series and it's at Dodger Stadium, you probably can't get in for less than $1,000. So, so I took the opportunity to go, and it was, that was a great moment to be at a World Series game, a game that the Dodgers won. But yeah, the Gibson home run is it for every single Dodger fan. You remember where you were. I was 11 years old at the time. Anybody that was alive during that time could tell you exactly where they were.
Oh yeah, I remember that one, and for me, the Puckett home run is another iconic home run for me. So you've been with the Saints since 2007.
Yep.
What do you miss about Midway Stadium compared to CHS Field?
I would tell you not much, to be honest with you. I get that Midway held a soft spot in a lot of people's hearts because the Saints started in '93, this little team that was given up on like probably a month into them existing. Every writer wrote them off and said they weren't going to last past the 4th of July. And how could you put an independent team in the same city or in the same area as a major league team? And the Twins were going to crush them and all this. And people came out. They loved, the sense of humor that the Saints had. They loved the fact that it was outdoor baseball. And so I understand that Midway held a special place in a lot of people's hearts because they were loyal to that franchise, to the franchise, and helped them be successful. But Midway had seen better days, and it was just time for the Saints to get a new ballpark. CHS Field has been amazing. It has done wonders for this organization. Again, we've always been successful, but it took us to another level, another stratosphere, and has made us into the organization that we are today.
Yeah, no, the one thing I, watching Saints games on TV when they're at Midway was, especially during Valley Fair time or State Fair time, you got to see the ride, you got to see the lights from the rides and then the train going by every once in a while. So, I mean, to me, and I actually got to play one game on there, and I didn't really care for the outfield that much, but
the outfield,
like
is this. It's
exactly
the hills of Midway. The outfield was like these rolling hills out there. Again, it wasn't a great ballpark.
Nope. If any outfielder took a dive, I mean, good luck getting up.
Yeah, I mean, it was built on a landfill, so that's the reason why the outfield sagged. It was built on a landfill underneath, and so it was just it was time.
Chris, you got another question for him?
Yeah. What stadium do you like going to? Just as a broadcaster or a fan in any league or any team?
Yeah, well, last year was my first year in AAA ball, so the ballparks, and I haven't even been to all of them. I think we only played our own division last year. We'll get a chance to play one other team outside of our division on the road this year, and that's in Buffalo, which I'm excited to go to. They redid that ballpark because if you remember this past year, the Blue Jays had to play in Buffalo, so
that's right.
They redid it to, not a complete overhaul, but they did some things to make it look even nicer. But I haven't been there. Number of good ballparks in this league, but I don't know. I'd probably tell you Toledo's up there. Toledo's got a nice ballpark that I've been to. Columbus has a nice ballpark. In the Old American Association, I shouldn't say old, that they're still around, but for my purposes, old because we're no longer in the league. I always loved going to Winnipeg. Winnipeg was one of my favorite ballparks to go to. Just the fan base was incredible. I enjoyed the city. Kansas City had a very nice ballpark with a nice surrounding area. I always tell people I judge where we go based on three things: the hotel, what's around the hotel, and the broadcast booth. Those are the three things that I judge them.
All right, yeah. Normally somebody will throw in a good restaurant or something,
Right.
So, Sarge, what do you got?
This is kind of going off of the CBA. I know it's past the deadline and everything. How is this going to affect the AAA players? Because one of the big issues was their playing service time, and now we're at we have no Major League Baseball. So how is that going to affect the AAA players?
Yeah, so here's the way I'm going to explain this to folks. Every organization has a 40-man roster. that 40-man roster, 26 of those guys are taken by players on the major league roster, right? If you're in the major leagues, you have to be a part of the 40-man roster. So that means there are 14 other slots that go to your minor league players. And those guys could be anywhere between AAA on down to single A. Now, most of them are going to be AA and AAA guys. So if you're a part of the 40-man roster, you are a part of this collective bargaining agreement, and you cannot play until a CBA is officially signed off on. So if you are a 40-man player in the minor leagues, you will not play this year. I shouldn't say you won't play this year. You won't play until CBA is officially signed off. But everybody else is not a part of the union. So minor league baseball across the board will play. You just won't have any of the 40-man guys on any of the rosters. So it's guys that are, let's say, fringe 40-man guys, or guys that have just been toiling in the minor leagues for a while. But you're talking about 16 players when all is said and done, or 14 players, 26 guys in the major leagues, 14 in the minor leagues. So you're talking about 14 guys that you won't be able to see probably, again, at the AA and AAA level. So I'd probably tell you it affects 6 to 8 guys that would have probably started the season with us, that people won't be able to see. Now, look, if the CBA is signed off on tomorrow or this weekend or whatever, those guys can play with us at any time. That doesn't mean that when the CBA is signed off on, that the minor league guys will immediately start with the minor leagues. Spring training will take place. I don't know how long spring training will be, but it'll still take place. And for the major league guys, for the 40-man roster guys, when the CBA is negotiated.
Okay. No, that's something I didn't know either. I figured the minor league guys would all be in there, but to miss those 6 guys that the Saints will probably, is there a player out there outside of the Saints organization that us fans should be like, oh, this is going to be the next superstar coming up that you know of or you've seen? Or
yes, so you're talking non-Twins. Bobby Witt Jr., who's in the Royals organization. Had the opportunity to watch him, I think 2 or 3 series against us last year. He might be one of the most electric ball players I've ever watched, period. And that includes my 4 years in Fort Myers when I had a chance to see Hanley Ramirez and Ryan Howard and David Wright and all those guys that went through the Florida State League when I was there many, many years ago. But Bobby Witt Jr. is one of the most electric ball players I've said on record. Within 5 years, and I might want to lessen that to maybe within the next 3 years, he's going to be a 30-30 player in the major leagues.
Wow.
So
the highlights I've seen of him, I mean, he's electric.
I think he's the number 2 rated prospect in all of minor league baseball.
Okay. Chris, you got anything else?
Come back to me. I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll come back. Sarge, you got another quick question? Or, we got time.
Oh, yeah, we definitely got time. So this question has not been asked.
Mm-hmm.
Who is on your Mount Rushmore in in baseball?
Like player-wise, you're saying?
Yeah.
Man, that is a good question. It's probably going to be a lot of guys that I've never seen before. You got the Babe Ruths of the world, the Mickey Mantles of the world. Look, he's probably the most controversial player. I saw this guy play, but he's probably the most controversial player out there right now. But Barry Bonds, and that's coming from a Dodger fan, right? But what that guy could do to a baseball was incredible. So in terms of guys that I saw, like Bonds, Griffey. You couldn't watch Griffey without your jaw just dropping, and the things that he was able to do. Let's see who else would be on my Mount Rushmore. I've heard from a number of people that I've talked to that Willie Mays was probably the greatest athlete / ball player of all time. Again, I never saw Mays play, but from what I've heard from talking to a number of different people, and people that have been in baseball for a long time, broadcasters and retired ball players and stuff like that. Mays is the guy. So those are just some of the guys immediately that that come to mind. I'm trying to think of some pitchers. I mean, guys like Nolan Ryan. Watching him again, another controversial guy, but Roger Clemens. I mean, one of the most overpowering pitchers that he ever saw. So I mean, I realize I'm probably listing more than what goes on a Mount Rushmore, but there's so many guys out there that, and that's the other thing. As a broadcaster, look, I'm always going to be a Dodger fan. I'm a diehard Dodger fan. I will always be a diehard Dodger fan. But there gets to a point where, as a broadcaster, you start to root for players, as opposed to teams. Because you get to know these players and you root for them. And most of the guys that I root for, like when I was in Fort Myers in 2003, my first year, we had Joe Mauer. And it's not to say that I don't like Joe Mauer, but everybody rooted for him, right? Because he was the stud, he was the big prospect. So those are the easy guys to say, oh, I root for that guy. The guys I root for, and I don't know if, outside of Brandon, if you guys know who this will be, but Tommy Watkins, who had a brief cup of coffee with the Twins and is now, I think he's now their third base coach. He's been their first base coach for a while, but I think he's moving over to third base this year. He was a guy that didn't have a whole ton of talent. I mean, he was talented, but I mean, he wasn't, your top tier talent guy, and he had to work for everything he had. And he got a chance to play in the bigs for, I don't know what it was, a half a season or something like that, and produced in his time there. But those are the guys that I root for, the guys that aren't your top prospects, the guys that have to really work for everything that they have. and he was one of my favorite players of all time, still one of the greatest guys. It's funny, I hadn't seen Tommy in I don't know how many years, but in 2019, the Saints were honored at Target Field when we won the championship. Yep. And I was there and I was on the field and I hear this voice behind me. He's like, Sean. And I turn around and it's Tommy Watkins. And I hadn't seen the guy since, I don't know, 04, 05. So like it had been 14, 15 years. And he remembered who I was and called me out. And I went over to the dugout. We just chatted for a little bit. And now with us being an affiliate, he came to a game last year and popped up to the broadcast booth. And I was like, man, just put on a headset. Let's go. And he did. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
Nice. So, so what's your pregame, I guess, series? When you get ready to do your notes and stuff, what do you go through? Preparing yourself for the games.
Yeah, like you're asking me if I had any superstitions or rituals type of thing.
I was getting there, but I was just going to start with like researching and stuff. But,
I tell people this all the time that if you're a minor league broadcaster, broadcasting is like 10th on the list of things that they actually ask you to do, right? Like I serve dual roles, being media relations, being a broadcaster. I also sell. So there are about a million things that I'm doing before I can even think about the broadcast, which is unfortunate as someone that wants to be a broadcaster. So I try to get as much done in the off season as possible, as much research as I can this time of the year to prepare myself. And I tell people this, I like being on the road much more than I do being at home because I'm not dealing with a million other things. Like if it rains when we're at home, other than me being on the broadcast, but if it rains like at 4:00, I help pull the tarp. I'm doing ballpark prep with everybody else. So you're setting up group spaces and wiping down picnic tables and all that sort of stuff. So you're doing that too. So there isn't a lot of time to do straight research. Now I still do my game notes and put together stat packs and all that other stuff. But as far as research goes, I try to get that done as far in advance as possible. And then you'll look up some stats and some trends and you'll talk to the visiting broadcaster and try to get some notes on some guys and go down and talk to your manager and a couple of players if you need to talk to them. And, that's kind of how it goes, but it's not like a major league guy who, is sitting at home doing his research, shows to the ballpark at 1 or 2 o'clock and then has all this time to do what they want. I get to the ballpark at 9 o'clock in the morning for a 7 o'clock game because I work in the front office and my days are 14 hours long. So, and that's what it's like in minor league baseball.
Wow. Chris, did you think of a question or?
Is there a favorite player you enjoyed watching growing up?
Oh, good question. I'll just say as a Dodger fan, um, Oral Hershiser was one of my favorite ball players. Of course, what he did in '88 and setting this consecutive scoreless inning streak, and but watching the way he went about, uh, preparing for games and pitching, and never wanting to come out of a game. I was also a big Fernando Valenzuela fan, and probably Mike Piazza. I'd probably tell you Piazza was my other guy on the Dodgers that I really rooted for.
God, two pitches that I enjoyed watching too. Fernando
Yeah.
and Horsheiser. Loved watching them guys. I just had a question too, and I forgot about it. So we talked about who are your favorite guys to watch since you've been a part of the Saints? I mean, who did you enjoy watching?
Yeah, this past year, first I'll say Byron Buxton had 2 separate rehab stints with us. Man, that guy's on a different planet. I mean, he really is. Even coming back from injury, you could tell, how much better he was than everybody else on the field of play. I'd probably tell you first and foremost, um, you know, we had a couple of outfielders last year that, again, they're not big time prospects or anything. One of them may be a top 30 in the Twins organization, but Mark Contreras and Jimmy Kerrigan, I loved watching those guys. Again, Kerrigan was a guy that played independent ball. He started his career in independent ball, and then the Twins signed him. And Contreras was a 9th round pick out of UC Riverside. So, and those guys had career years last year. So to watch guys like that was a lot of fun. Of course, we had Jose Miranda, who just lit minor league baseball on fire last year, and he was just a joy to watch for, basically a half a season with us. And what he did was absurd and ridiculous. He had 3 home runs in his AAA debut.
Yep, I remember reading about that.
Yeah, 5 hits, 3 homers, 6 RBI. He was just tremendous to watch.
Yeah. Oh God! Sorry, you got another question?
I do. I love minor league baseball because I love all the team names, because sometimes you got some random names, which I love, and some awesome promotions. Sell me on a promotion that you guys do on the field for the fans and so forth for the St. Pau Saints, so I could become a fan.
Just on-field promotion? Okay, well, I'll give you an on-field promotion, then I'll give you like a theme night that we did that I'll both sell you on. So we did this for the first time last year with a local grocery store. And so I came up with this idea. The client is mine, and I came up with this idea, and it's kind of based around the NBA promotion where you make a free throw, or I'm sorry, you make a layup, you make a free throw, you make a 3-pointer, and then you try for a half-court shot. And if you complete all that in whatever allotted time, you win X amount of dollars, $10,000, $100,000, whatever it is. So I thought, well, this is perfect for the grocery store. What we're going to do is, from an elevated position, we'll have a fan standing from an elevated position. We will put out 3 shopping carts, and then one of those little baskets. And so you have to take a potato. So you get your grocery store food item. You've got to make it into each of the first 3 grocery carts. And then if you do that, you have 1 shot with a cantaloupe to make it into the little hand cart. You know how little those hand carts are. The key to that is the cantaloupe has to stay in the hand cart. Like, it could get in and bounce out, and it doesn't count. So and if you do that in, I think it was 45 seconds, you win $10,000. We got it insured. Nobody thought this would ever happen, right? Nobody. Making the potatoes wasn't very hard, and I should preface it by saying that the shopping carts get smaller as you go down the line. So it's your normal grocery cart, then it's sort of like a half-size grocery cart, then it's like a kid grocery cart, and then there's the little basket. So like I said, no one thought this would ever happen, least of all the insurance company. And within the first 10 to 15 games, again, most people were hitting the potatoes, but when it came to the cantaloupe, like no one could make it. And we did it not on the field, but we did it kind of on the concourse so that when you shoot the cantaloupe, it splatters on the ground when people miss. But here's this one guy just heaves it up. Cantaloupe goes in the handbasket, rattles around, kicks the handbasket over, and the cantaloupe stayed in. Didn't roll out. And the crowd went berserk. And this kid won $10,000. I think he was 20-something years old.
Nice.
And so you have to call the insurance company, and you have to have video proof, which we did. And the insurance company paid it out, but they made us change the promotion from 45 seconds to 30 seconds because they were so worried that it would keep happening. So that's the on-field promotion that I tell you that we do that people love all the time. One of my favorite like theme nights that we did was a few years ago, and it was I think it was like the 40th anniversary of Animal House.
Yep, I remember that one. Yep.
And so we did a ballpark-wide food fight, and you can go online and find it, but it's a ballpark-wide food fight where we had marshmallows, powdered donuts, popcorn, and mashed potatoes. And in the middle of like the fourth inning, we had people walk up to the concourse, grab their little food boats with all this stuff in. And then in the middle of the fifth inning, after the third out of the top of the fifth inning, we had a 60-second food fight. And it was a absolute disaster in the best way possible. It went viral. I mean, we posted it online, obviously. Yep. It went viral. It was crazy. So like, these are the things that we do that, we're known for, and we try to think as far outside the box as possible.
Now, before you guys became affiliated with the Twins, did you guys see any drop in gain or drop depending on how the Twins did in their season in your attendance?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, the great thing about us is people come for the entertainment. Like the baseball had always been secondary. Now as the Twins AAA affiliate, you get a lot of crossover, right? You get a lot of baseball fans, plus you get a lot of people that come because we're this entertainment venue. So no, the only time we really saw kind of a negative impact for us was probably the first and second year of Target Field. So that was the thing. Like, the new ballpark, and everybody wanted to check it out. They had been this indoor venue for so long. Now they were, outdoor ballpark. So those couple of years probably, were the only ones we were really hurt by what the Twins were doing.
No, you speak of the theme nights you had. I mean, didn't you guys do Sandlot a few years ago? Mm-hmm. Star Wars, you guys do like.
Yeah, we do a Star Wars night every year. Yeah, we do a Star Wars night every year. So yeah, we do a bunch of nights. And like I said, we try to be as creative and humorous as possible when we do these things.
Yeah, Chris, you got anything?
You were talking about theme nights. Is there like a theme night you're like didn't enjoy it, or you're like, well, we could change it?
I mean, look, when you're doing 50 games, which we used to play, to now 75 games, it's hard to have 75 nights of amazing promotions, right? It's just it's not possible to have. So look, there are some that are just more tame than others, but they all serve a purpose for us. So I wouldn't say that there's anything we've done where I'm like, well, we should never do that again. Some just aren't as crazy or as humorous as others. But when you're doing 75 nights, it's impossible to do 75 brilliant nights that everybody's going to be talking about. You just can't do it.
Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of people do like special homecomings, especially for people in the service stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've seen the Saints do a couple of those. Okay. So what goes along in promoting that or getting that all situated through you guys?
Yeah, one of the biggest ones we did was for actually our office manager whose son enlisted in the service. And this was, I think it was 2015 or 2016, if I remember correctly. And her son was not scheduled to be home for a while, but somehow, I don't know, was able to come home, and we surprised her. And, so sometimes it's people calling us up to say, hey, my son or daughter is coming home from the military, and or a relative or whatever it is. and we want to surprise someone, so a lot of times we'll get people to call us up. We have no sway with the military, so it's not like we can call the military up and say, hey, we want to do, we have no power on that side of things. But oftentimes it's people calling us up, letting us know that, hey, they got word that, someone in their family is in the military and they're coming home early, but, mom or dad or significant other doesn't know. And so we want to surprise them. So that'll happen.
Okay. Sarge?
No, I'm just looking at season tickets now because I want to do that promotion.
No, I tell you, Sarge, you're out in Washington. You come into Minnesota, yeah, we'll definitely go to a Saints game. I mean, I enjoy going to them, one, because they are a third of the price of Major League Baseball. I mean, I love baseball, but I could sit front row for $15, and that's what I enjoy, getting closer. Especially since I got an 8-year-old son, so
there you go.
He likes scoring the autographs. As a matter of fact, a couple years ago, Lee Adams helped me out with a surprise for my son, getting him on the field and meeting the pig and getting some autographs. So my son really enjoys that. So like I said, and Sean said it. AAA baseball, minor league baseball is just amazing. I mean, a lot of interaction with the fans, and I enjoy it.
Well, I'll say this: Lee Adams is one of the good people in our business and our industry, and he is our master of ceremonies. The guy's got a sense of humor like you wouldn't believe. So I love Lee. He's a great guy.
Now, I just saw, I was looking at some of the old videos. There's going to be an open seat or a new person next to Lee in the pregame show, or have we filled that yet?
In terms of like Saints Live, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Saints Live. Yeah.
No, it'll be JW Cox. JW will be back again. It's.
Oh, dang it! I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring for that one.
No,
I would love to be on that show one of these times, but I love watching those guys do their thing, and it's just amazing. So guys, we got any more questions for our guest here? Or
I mean, I used to work with the Helena Brewers. They were the rookie ball for the Milwaukee Brewers in Montana, and it got cold on the nights time. How cold does it get there in St. Paul?
You ask a good question, Sarge. We've never, ever played April baseball before. Never in our history. Last year, obviously, was the first year as a AAA affiliate. But if you remember, they pushed the minor league season back a month because of the pandemic. So we didn't start until right around the time we would start when we were an independent team, that mid-May time. It was a little bit earlier. I think it was beginning of May. But we've never played April baseball before. I spent a lot of the time last year complaining about this year starting in April. So there are gonna be some cold nights, man. There just are. I mean, you can't get away with it. We open the season in Louisville, Kentucky, so I expect the weather to be a little bit on the milder side when we open up on April 5th in Louisville. But our home opener is April the 12th. There are going to be some cold nights because we've played, some mid-May games that were cold at night. So, I mean, you're going to have 30-degree nights that are just going to be brutal. Now, people should feel bad for me as a broadcaster. I'm in a booth, that's heated, so feel bad for me. There are going to be some cold nights though, for sure. So but again, like if you want to be a major league ball player, you're going to play games in April in cold weather cities. So you can't look at a player and say, well, terrible for them because their goal is to get to the major leagues, and you're going to play plenty of games in April and the beginning of May that are just going to be cold in cities that you play in.
So last few questions I have, at least. Yeah. One is, what did you feel that the pitch clock and the second runner has affected baseball as much as most fans?
The pitch clock, no. I don't think the pitch clock did much of anything, to be honest with you. I know in some leagues that it did. It helped reduce the time, but not in our league. I thought it was minimal. The runner on second does, yeah. I mean, because if you think about it, you play extra inning ball games, for those that don't know, and I assume they're keeping that in minor league baseball, although we have not been told. But once the 10th inning starts, you put a runner at second base. And that sped up the end of the game, right? Instead of, although we played a 14-inning game that went over 5 hours and continued into the next day, we had actually halt play and then pick it up the next day.
Yep.
But for most part, you ended games in like inning 10 or 11. Whereas if there were no runners on and you were just playing, you could keep going for a while. So I would say that helped a little bit in terms of speeding up the game, but the pitch clock I thought was negligible, to be honest with you.
Do you like the runner at second or right away, or would you wait? Because to me as a fan, I would wait till like 13th, 14th inning to have the runner.
I'm for you on that. Like I'm not a fan of it because I'm a more traditional baseball guy where it's like, hey, play the game, and if it goes 20 innings, it goes 20 innings. I understand why they do it, but I'm with you. Like if you're gonna do it in inning 11 or 12 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Not right away. I mean, at least give one extra inning for teams to be able to score. But no one's asked my opinion, so they're not have to say.
Oh, speaking of no one asking at least the fans' opinions on things, Sarge, I think you kind of know where I'm probably going with this one. The 7-inning no-hitters, should MLB count them?
It's funny that you say that because we were no-hit last year against Iowa in 7 innings, and my headline did not allude to a no-hitter because Major League Baseball calls it a notable achievement. So my headline was Saints are notably achieved by Iowa Cubs. Here's the rationale behind this, and I've argued this before. If 7 innings is not a no-hitter, if you pitch 7 innings of a 7-inning game and don't give up a run, is it still a shutout? Yep. If you pitch a complete game and it's 7 innings, is it still a complete game? Yep. So I don't understand like how you've got your definition for one thing, but then you take it away in another. Like I don't care if you want to get rid of a no-hitter being 7 innings, fine, but make it universal across the board. Then 7 innings is not a shutout. Yep. 7 innings is not a complete game. I don't understand how it's good for one and not good for the other.
Yeah, no, we've had that big debate since Bumgarner threw his.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, for us in our unofficial book, we count it as a no hitter. So
yeah,
we do.
I agree with you.
Yeah. What's one thing you miss from the old coaching staff and players since you are now affiliated with the Twins?
Yeah, look, George Samus is forever one of my favorite people in the world of baseball. Again, winningest pitcher or winningest manager in Saints history, and our coaching staff that had hitting coach Ole Sheldon and pitching coach Kerry Leitenberg. I was with George since day one because again he started before me, and I think Ole and Kerry were with me for 7 or 8 years. Ole played for us, so like those guys became friends. And then the summer, like you're with these guys all the time, and then when you're get rid of the independent and become an affiliate, those guys are no longer a part of the organization. Now, George works for the Saints. He's actually in town in the off season, running some baseball camps for us. So I see George right now every day, but it's different, than hanging out with people on the bus and, talking to guys after games and being in the battle with them, even though I'm not on the field or in it, like I'm as emotionally invested as they are in that stuff. And, so that was the toughest part about getting rid of us being an independent ball club was those guys no longer being a part of the organization.
Okay. So how did the news break, or how did it all come along for the Saints to become part of the MLB Twins?
Yeah, I mean, the short version of this is Major League Baseball revamped their entire minor league system, and they asked the major league teams, if you could have any minor league affiliates, who would they be? And, the Twins basically said, hey, we want the Saints, even though we weren't an affiliated ball club. And the Astros said that they wanted Sugarland. And so those were the first 2 independent ball clubs to become a part of it. And so that's how it all got started. We didn't really come into the picture until many months after that meeting with that Major League Baseball had, and then talks happened, and contracts were sent back and forth a bazillion times, I'm sure, and Major League Baseball approved it, and then you pay into to get in and all this other stuff. And, here we are as going on our second year as the AAA affiliate of the Twins.
These guys could probably definitely tell you when I heard the news, I was tweeting it, Facebook, and these guys. I'm like, hey, I get to go watch AAA baseball now, right down the road from me. I mean,
Yeah.
I was so excited. I mean, to see some of the guys, future Twins, and even some of the Twins, when they're on rehab assignments and stuff. So yeah, these guys definitely heard me, take my homerism and play it along. So, but you guys got anything else to say before we let our guests go and finish up our show?
I got a last question on this one. It's new to AAA this year. It's the robotic umpire this year.
Huh.
I'm
I forgot
picturing.
about that.
I know. I'm picturing Wally behind the catcher. That's how I'm picturing the robotic umpire. So, do you know more details about that and how that will affect the game itself?
Yeah, so I don't, and the simple fact I don't is because the robo umps are only going to be in the Pacific Coast League or the West.
Okay.
We're on the West, and I think there's one team in our league, and we won't even play them, that will have it. I think someone will have to look this up. I think it's. I'm trying to think. I don't think it's Durham. I think it's. Yeah, I can't remember who it is, but I think it might be the Knights, Charlotte. It might be Charlotte that has it, but there's only one team on our side that actually has it. But all the other ones are mostly in AAA West. So I haven't had to learn about this because it won't affect us. I don't know how they're setting it up. I know they did this in the Atlantic League, last year or whatever, where they had robo umps, and so I mean I don't know. I to be honest, I have no idea how they do it. I couldn't be more anti this if I wanted to be. I think it's ridiculous. The human element is part of the game. I get it.
Yep.
The favorite pastime is for people to complain about umpires and you think they do a terrible job. But like, if you look at Major League Baseball and the grading out of these guys, they're like 95, 96% accurate, with balls and strikes call. If you think about how many pitches are thrown, the fact is everyone focuses on such the minute ones that these guys miss. But for the most part, I mean, these guys are excellent. And so I don't know. I just think that they try to test things out. They went to the bigger bases last year at AAA, which I thought was negligible. They stopped the shift at I think single A last year for half the season to see how that would work. They had a weird rule where you could only throw over to first base twice. I think that was at single A as well. So I think they're just trying things out, but I can't ever see Major League Baseball going to robo umps. They have instant replay. I think that's good enough, but balls and strikes, leave it up to the umpires.
Oh, I totally agree with you on that. So, one last thing, scheduling wise, are they doing the 6-game series, or are they breaking it up 3-3?
Yeah, no, 6-game series again, which I love. Monday, a traditional off.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it because you're in one city for 6 days as opposed to packing up, 2.5 days into your road trip and getting out. It's nice to be in a city, for a week at a time. You can get settled in. The only time it's really tough on the road is when you're on the road for 2 road trips, right? For back-to-back series. Now you're on the road for 2 weeks, and we only have 2 of those. So as long as you can survive that, I like it. I like it. Plus knowing that every Monday's an off day. I think there are only 3 Mondays we don't have off this year, and one is like the 4th of July because everybody wanted to play on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
So I think we're in Indianapolis, if I remember, and we play on that Monday, but Tuesday is going to be an off day for us in Indianapolis. And then I think the last Monday of the season, I think the last 2 Mondays of the season, we play on. But other than that, every Monday is off. So I love that. It's so much better.
Okay. Well, I wasn't expecting you to love it, but that makes kind of sense.
Sign me up for it.
So I guess if you could share, without naming players or coaches, is there a good road story you could tell us about?
Man, my road life is boring. I get asked this a few times. You get anything crazy that happens on the road? My road life is boring. I literally I'm in a hotel working, so I don't go out with guys. I don't. I've seen players get kicked off of buses before for things they've been doing. I've seen we pulled a bus over once to kick a guy off the bus, which was shocking to watch. But I saw that happen. But nothing comes to mind. I'm sure I've had one or two crazy things happen when we've been on the road, but like nothing comes to mind. My life on the road is boring. It really is.
So is that player got to find his own way to the next stadium, or
He was released.
Oh, okay. We won't get into that part.
He was basically released on the spot and then kicked off the bus. So
Wow.
All right. So, well, we do appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can keep this connection going and maybe get some players or some other staff on down the road. But good luck to the Saints. I know I'll definitely be at the ballpark a dozen so times, hopefully. But any last things you want to promote there, Sean?
No, the last thing that I'll say is, regardless of what happens with the lockout, minor league baseball across the board will start. AAA starts April the 5th. I think everything else starts April the 8th. And so look, we all hope Major League Baseball plays, right? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're an independent ball club. I don't care if you're an affiliated club. Everybody wants to see Major League Baseball, start. But I always tell this to people: support your local team, whatever it is. I don't care if it's a major league team. I don't care if it's a minor league team. I don't care if it's an independent club or a collegiate team. Support your local team wherever you're at. These guys work hard and they want your support. So wherever you're at, make sure you support them.
All right. With that being said, guys, I want to thank Sean for coming on tonight. It was glad, and for me, a special honor to interview you and talk to you. Sarge, Crispy Bacon, we'll definitely be doing more shows once the baseball season starts. But with that being said, thank you guys again for coming on, viewing, commenting. And with that being said, we'll see you next time for On Deck. Have a good one.